All right, here we go. We are back. Casey Ensley.
I thought we were doing last names.
Good to see you. Totally forgot the notes from the green room. We kicked off the episode.
It's all right.
She has
Totally
talked
fine
about
with
this.
it.
I think
we use your last names.
we've already disclosed this anyway. I think in the earlier episodes for our
So
fans.
what episode is this?
You want to play that game again?
Yeah.
All right.
Are we 10 on 11 or?
Actually, number 10, technically number 9, but we have now hit the 10 episode.
10 episode mark.
Yeah, so that's positive.
All right.
We still don't have intro music.
Well, we do sometimes.
Sometimes we do.
We'll add it.
Yeah, we can edit that in actually, I think, with the magic of AV.
Yes.
I can help with that. I got a lovely voice.
So we do have a guest.
We do
That's
have
the
a
lovely
guest.
voice that you just heard.
Yeah, buddy.
And tonight, well, like we said, we made it to episode 10, and tonight we're going to talk about how to talk to people.
How to talk to people.
Seems obvious.
You
We're
would
doing,
think one would
doing
be-
it right now. We've been doing it for 10 weeks.
Sure.
But it's not that easy.
You know.
We're going to talk about how to treat people in various scenarios, understand context, how to read a room, dig into the nuances of how to achieve these things without being annoying and avoiding being that guy, that girl, or that they, them.
Before we get too far into this, we got a tradition here.
Properly got to
right.
start this episode off.
Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Mark.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Standard ritual to kick off the episode.
Cheers, boys.
Happy
Cheers.
Friday. And we have no additional production assistants today in the studio, but we do have the perfect guest, so keep rolling.
Let's let Mark introduce himself.
Let's do it.
All right, Mark.
Well,
Who are you? Where
So-
are you from? How
Yep.
old are you? What do you do? How's your hammer?
so
And,
you,
and be reminded, we have dozens of listeners, so
Okay.
you know.
So- so we do want these people to know who I really am or not.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to start out by saying thank you for having me. It's your way of telling me that I have a face for radio, right? My name is Mark. I've been in Aspen 14 years, been all over, Northeasterner for the most part. Migrated down the East Coast of the United States, ended up in Florida, avoiding responsibility at every turn. And
As most Aspenites.
yes,
Still,
right.
still punching that bag hard.
And I think sometime back in the 80s, I saw a movie called Aspen Extreme,
Oh,
Yes.
and it only took me another 20 years to get here.
yes.
Yeah, so
Made an impact, made an impression.
oh, huge impression. I actually had a couple friends that moved not long after that here and they lived in their car when you could
Yeah.
here in Aspen.
I didn't see it till after I
Yeah.
moved here.
I have a
Yeah.
friend that claims that he showed me that movie the season before I moved here.
Really?
And then he's he takes the credit for me moving here because
Was
he
that
showed me
filmed
that
here?
movie.
Yeah.
I think a lot of
No, it was. Aspen Extreme was actually filmed here,
Okay.
and they would not employ any locals. So there was a lot of pushback on it.
Sure.
So a couple locals actually ended up getting in the movie. Outside of that, they said, just we're here, stay out of our way, and it pissed off a lot of people.
So, Mark, will give us a little background. I know you've had a few businesses out here.
Yeah,
You've never actually out here worked for anyone. You pretty much all of your employment has been of your own doing, right?
Well, actually, when I first moved here, I worked at the St. Regis
Okay.
because I actually didn't move here. I was moving to Lake Tahoe, and I stopped here to see some friends. And that night I went out. We stopped in town, and I went to a industry thing at Jimmy's,
Okay.
which was a famous place here in town.
Sure. Yeah.
And it was like the Jack Daniels brand party. And I got like 5 job offers that night,
Nice.
thinking I was all special,
Right.
not realizing that nobody here wants to fucking work, right?
Yeah.
So I said, no, I'm going to Lake Tahoe. I just wanted to go to Lake Tahoe. And
Sure.
basically what happened was the night before Halloween. It was, hey, maybe you shouldn't go to
So
Tahoe.
October 30th.
It was a 30th, October 30th, 14 years ago.
Got it.
Nice.
14 years ago. And hey, if you go to Tahoe tomorrow, you're either going to find nowhere to live or nowhere to work,
Mhm.
because you never find both. That's kind of how Aspen is.
Yeah.
You can find somewhere to live and nowhere to work.
Well, I
Or
think most resort ski type towns.
absolutely.
I think that's
Talked about this on previous
Yep.
episodes. A lot of people have to stitch it together with multiple jobs.
Well, most.
Well, that's how it started, kind of.
Yeah.
So it turns out the next day was Halloween, and of course, the guy that I knew was a bartender at Caribou Club. So he took me the next night to the
Shout
Caribou
out
Club.
Caribou Club.
Yeah, awesome place. And I thought, man, I'm in Aspen and I'm going to Caribou Club.
Yeah.
I must be special,
Totally.
right? So I ended up staying. I took a job at the St. Regis, and I took a job with Greg Jurgensen, Sonny's boy,
Okay.
ex-quarterback, and worked at, it just became the Mustang, and next door was that nightclub. Club Chelsea. I bounced at Club Chelsea until they turned into the Speakeasy a few weeks later.
Mhm.
And so those were my first jobs here. I worked for somebody else, and I had been in the restaurant business in Naples, Florida. And it was just rather be lucky than smart.
Sure.
But I think I was lucky or smart enough not to jump in,
Mhm.
and just over 2 or 3 years, just looked and listened and what do we need? What are we missing?
So you worked at the Regis and you worked at
Yes.
Bouncing at Chelsea for a few years.
Yeah, the Regis, I left after 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And
St.
Greg,
Regis, for people that don't know, it's kind of a swanky hotel out here.
yeah, it used to be the Ritz-Carlton and then the St. Regis, and it's impressive, but not quite my style.
Gorgeous property.
Gorgeous
Yeah.
property, but
It is.
you're also dealing with some of the worst humans on the planet.
Yeah.
So that's why we wanted to have you here. So great background, great fit.
Thank you.
Also, you're a guy's guy, great storyteller.
I want to get into how his owning of the bowling alleys, Steeps. Was there something before the bowling alley? Oh, what was that?
Well, we had the dollar bar,
The dollar bar.
which was actually, shout out to the guys at the Buck, Adam, you guys, great job. So anyways, everywhere you go in the world, there's always a place like called like the silver dollar,
Sure.
or the soggy dollar, or the sand dollar, and locals always call it the Buck.
Mhm.
And the guy that actually made me leave Florida, planted the seed. We went on a ski trip to Switzerland.
Mhm.
When I got back from Switzerland, I'd skied in 20 years. I got back to Florida. I'm like, what am I doing in Florida? And that's when I said Lake Tahoe, glacial lake. It was like
Sure.
Switzerland, all that. And he was telling me about this place in Austria he used to go to called the Dollar Bar. And it was the Buck. I'm sorry, it was the Dollar Bar. They would call it the Buck because it was the Dollar Bar.
Right.
And every day they had something for $1. And then so I got kind of a bug up my ass that was, hey, let's open a place because this town lacks in kind of local, affordable,
That's a fun concept.
high dive.
Yeah.
High dive. Let's just have we're in Aspen, nothing sucks. And I wanted to have something every day for $1, whether it was like cherries that were marinated in grain alcohol or a shot of like whatever garbage the liquor company
Sure.
Yeah,
pushed
you
on
couldn't sell.
Toenail shot.
always something for $1,
Yeah.
and then keep everything as affordable as possible, try to be volume driven rather than, high price driven.
Sure.
And yeah, so
You did
that,
that for a couple of years and then.
not even, no, I only did that. I got bought out very quickly.
Yeah.
Really?
And
Because the business is going so well.
no, the business was going great,
Yeah.
but, the lease was such a gravy lease
They
that
wanted
when people
things.
realized that I had 15 or 13 years left on this lease and I was only paying $4,000 a month, somebody's like, hey, I'll give you 10 grand a month for it.
Right.
Then I'll buy your business and get out.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, Caroline and I were having, I think Perry was on the way,
Mhm.
and I was in there late.
Sure.
And I had a lot of friends such as you guys possibly twisting arms and, anyways, you know how it
The
was.
best influencers.
The best influencers on the planet. So yeah,
The
So I did
original
that.
influencers.
and my whole idea, my concept in this
Stupid
town,
Instagram bullshit.
right? I mean, my concepts in this town have always been, I learned in the past, don't build what you want to build what's needed.
Sure.
And so I'm like, well, listen, we don't need another Italian restaurant. We don't need another this. We don't need none of that. We need stuff that really the base is the locals.
Mhm.
That's why I built a bowling alley, not because I like to drink and bowl. It had nothing to do with it.
Mm.
It's because I'm like,
They
hey,
need a
what do we need?
locals thing to do. It's not.
Dude, I mean, you can't, families don't come here. They don't come. There's nothing to do outside of ski,
Oh,
so
expensive.
and I
you can
thought,
only do
yeah.
it during daylight hours.
absolutely. And that's why, when I went,
In the winter, that's not even half the time.
yeah, I mean,
Also true.
but advice to anybody, all 12 of you that will listen to this or listen to this, 2 dozen, 24, my bad, that's right. Is that 24?
Dozens, actually.
My math isn't strong with me, but listen, unless you grew up in a family that owned bowling alleys, don't do it.
Yeah.
It's its own niche.
I like drinking.
Sitting vacant for so long.
Oh, dude.
I want eligible so bad.
Oh, I know, we've talked about it many times. I try,
Great little honky tonk in Mid Valley.
dude, I try, you know too. It's
Anyway, so let's get on the topic here. Fast forward, Mark had the bowling alley and rolled that into Pussyfoot Steeps. Shout out Pussyfoot Steeps.
Yep.
here.
In the ABC, great again, local
Which was
place.
built for a need because there was no good food over there. There was
Nothing.
no bar over there. There was a
Nothing.
ton of people that lived there that are locals
Totally.
that had nothing to serve them.
I would say it's probably the best burger in the valley.
Appreciate it.
Definitely top
I want to be
three.
careful with that one, buddy.
Why? Oh yeah, it's got a couple. It's tied for the top 3 burgers in the valley.
That's smart. Yeah.
But yeah, very affordable. It's great. Also those jalapeno poppers,
Oh, yeah.
those will blow your socks off.
Those started at Club Chelsea in Mustang.
I never would have thought to like crunch up
Oh,
Ruffles
really? They
potato
got pulled
chips.
forward from the previous venues.
I don't want
Absolutely.
to give your secret away, but
Go ahead, tell 'em.
they're breaded with crumpled up Ruffles potato chips. That is, instead of like panko or flour or batter, it's fucking, it'll change your life. They're good.
Oh, yeah.
Burger is good. I will attest to that as well. So the way that we got Mark here was we were hanging out at Sundeck. Shout out to a previous episode that we did about ski town, ski culture, and Sundeck got mentioned quite a bit there. And we were talking about a couple of different things.
What exactly were you guys doing this Sunday?
Taking a break from skiing,
Oh.
warming up, defrosting, having a beer,
Oh, okay.
getting some lunch.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Helping the children.
Any variables
yeah.
of those things, doing some fundraising as well, as he
They were
mentioned.
getting fucking drunk.
No, we talked about this in the last episode. It's not a good idea that we do that at the Sunday.
Right, but it happens.
You download. You should.
I downloaded.
Shit.
I definitely downloaded that day.
Oh, it was good.
We're gonna drink it.
Yeah. Reece, Mark had shared in it like a hilarious story. And it's one that like we've both heard before. I'd heard tidbits of it before, but it got me thinking about like, you know, how that happens all the time at Sundeck with locals and just how you intermix with friends and people you know. Some are ski buddies, some you know from town because you see them out like as friends, some you see them out because they're working and
Quite
you're hanging out.
buddies.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, sometimes you just see people in various capacities, especially in the small town.
Especially small, and especially because so many of the locals work in the service industry. So you're interacting with them,
Yeah.
not even on a socially, but also professionally. So like we run into our friends all the time, not necessarily to hang out, but they're working, they're
Right.
bartending, they're serving the table,
Yeah.
they're whatever.
But they're still your friend, or you still might know them. And even if you don't, we can talk about those 3 like
Cheers.
levels of like, you know, acquaintance, friend, or
I think there's actually 4. Because there's also I was blacked out and I met you and I don't remember you, but I'm gonna pretend like I do because I don't
recognize
want
your face.
Right.
I know how.
Yeah, exactly. I know you.
I know you from work. We've hung out a little bit, or like friends,
Sure.
or buddies. Yeah.
I always have the where did these texts come from? That just say like Mark Sundeck.
I've gotten
Yeah.
shameless. I
And
will
you're
just
like-
save their number with the most obvious thing right the fuck in front of them. I will literally like so and so
The dude with the dumb helmet.
Sunday drinking. You
Right.
know? Like as many context clue notes to like recall when I get this later.
Gaper eye patch. No, yeah. Right.
Don't answer this phone number. I'm being nice by giving
Hold on, let me turn around. Oh, yeah. No, but you know, so it got me thinking about like how you interact with people. And I know I've been fortunate to be around people like mentors and friends that are like really good with people. Some use humor, some are really articulate, some have great stories,
Sure.
some just are really interesting or really curious. And one of the most impactful things someone's ever said around me was when I first moved to Colorado, I was out with a friend and we were networking. We were at a bar trying to meet people.
Pick up kicks.
Yeah. But my buddy says to this girl, he goes, "Hey, so how's it going?" And she goes, "Oh, no, I have a boyfriend."
Oh god.
And he goes, "Cool, I have a goldfish." And she was like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, my bad. I thought we were talking about stuff that didn't matter."
Right.
And it totally broke the ice. Totally worked. She
That's
turned
awesome.
around. The body language was now, "Tell me more about
Right.
you guys."
Yeah.
And
Take
it
me
was
back to
like,
your room. I want to meet
hand
this
to the
goldfish.
face. Yeah. Like, do you really have a goldfish? And that was so impactful to me because, you know, my career has been largely in tech and
Well, it's sales of tech.
yeah, and so you go to these like mind-numbingly boring industry events and networking cocktail things,
Could not imagine.
and it is awful. And so, you know, people are talking about like the weather, the travel.
Mhm.
You know, what are you looking to get out of this conference while you're here?
You've never been to a FASB, have you?
And this is like, this is, what's a what?
FASB in Snowmass?
No.
It's like Mensa.
Oh.
And they come in all summer long. I used to have to serve those.
All right.
Oh, Lord. Yes.
It's an acronym, I'm assuming.
Well, Mensa is like an intellectual of community where you actually have to be test certified to be a part of. So it's like you have an
The definition basically says not us,
IQ.
but I'm willing to bet we're a lot smarter than pretty much all of
I've
them. In
taken
certain
the
ways.
test, it's hard.
Really?
Yeah, it's really hard.
But is it like knowledge of history or is it like math problems?
General knowledge, specific knowledge, geographic.
Because I mean, I could give people a test that they would fail tomorrow of shit that I know.
For sure. Yeah. This
Oh,
is
totally. Yeah.
this is more academic than it is like.
Well, let's put
say-
it this way. In a zombie apocalypse, we're going to live there not.
Right, got you.
They might create it,
Sure.
but we're going to live through it.
Yeah. You
But
might,
these conversations to like use what the kids say, like it's cringe.
right,
You know, they're boring, it's unoriginal, it's the same conversation from one person to the next
sure.
as well. And it's kind of lazy. And I think a lot of it is just people are untrained or they're unfocused. They never really thought about what they're gonna say in these situations. And maybe you don't need to. Some of it is best just off the cuff, they're authentic. And I think that's what both of you guys are really good at. So I'll just pause there because I don't want to go into stories because they're not worth it.
Right.
Everyone can imagine the like vanilla, office space type interactions that are occurring.
I mean, like tonight, we're gonna go out after this podcast. We're gonna run into, I would say each one of us is probably gonna run into 15 people that we know on different levels of knowing, either a bar buddy, a customer, someone I've hung out, actually spent real time with, someone that's been to my house. I mean, you interact with them differently, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, like I grew up watching, my dad is a good visitor, but he's very quiet. He listens to people talk. He can keep the conversation going. But I wouldn't say he's a real outgoing guy. He's kind of one of those guys that says less and listens more. But I feel like people listen to him more because he says less. So when he does say something, people are like, oh, I need to listen to him. Where I'm the opposite. I'm just a fucking loudmouth. But my grandfather, not that he was a loudmouth, but he was a lot like me in the sense that he was a bullshitter. He would go to the grain elevator or the feed store, and those guys would sit around and visit about nothing. But they would solve the world's problems.
Absolutely.
They would be, the weather was a huge one. In the Midwest, talking about the weather is like, it's almost like one of the most intimate things you can do is to visit with someone about the weather and what you think's gonna happen with the weather. But you're from like Pennsylvania area,
Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut.
and it's
Yeah.
kind of that way. too.
Massachusetts a little bit, but I don't want to take credit for that part of it.
Sure, I wouldn't
Yeah.
either. No offense, because I got a bunch of family there.
Assholes everywhere.
I mean, like, did you guys visit a lot about weather in Pennsylvania?
No, I think that probably though I was in Philadelphia and then Erie
Sure,
and then State College, Pennsylvania, which is very, it's surrounded by Amish people.
right.
But I think was it that? No, because it's an age thing.
Well, also too, the part of Illinois that I'm from is so agricultural.
Yeah.
And, the weather determines what kind of, income you're gonna have that year.
Absolutely. Yeah,
And
sure.
that was always a hot topic.
Yeah, no, but for me, back in those days, that's the last thing on our mind, unless we were thinking about,
Having
doing
that party
the
outside.
party outside, yeah, or going skiing or whatever. Yeah, weather was never an issue to us, at that point in time in my life.
I should give a little background here. Mark and I ran for city council 3 years ago,
Yeah,
3 or 4 years
Yeah.
ago. And we ran on very similar platforms and we kind of worked off of each other to help with our campaigns. Obviously, neither one of us got elected. Did you find doing that? Obviously, we wanted to be as genuine as we could be with our campaign and with talking to people and stuff. But I felt like at that time when I was running, I talked to people differently.
oh,
Like a different voice, like a phone voice.
Yeah, no.
No.
Super sexy phone.
it was just
No, I
like,
used to like in sales calls, I would have friends that would be like, yeah, bro. And then I was like, all blah, blah, blah. And they'd be like, Hi, may I speak to Bob? Hi, Bob. I'm calling from,
Welcome,
like,
Raven, to the
like,
stage.
alter
The main stage.
Raven. Yeah. No,
Also,
I
I wonder if like DJs like talk like that all the time.
I don't.
Like in the bedroom.
I-
Now coming to the bedroom.
no, it's like
He's in the bedroom. No, but I mean, like,
yeah, I felt
I
like
felt like neither one of us pulled our punches. We were pretty open and honest about what we wanted to do and problems that we saw. But I do feel like I was more opening to listening to people when before that I would have just been like, fuck off, dude. I don't give a shit what you have to say.
I think that's a good mention though, because one of the things I think that people fall into with bad conversation is repetition.
Sure.
They've just never heard anybody say anything different and they just keep using the same talk tracks. Like
Repeater.
we have the casual 3 minute Aspen interaction. Like, hey man, what's going on? Did you go up today?
Did you get up today?
Yeah.
How was it? Cool. Where are you going now?
Yeah.
Awesome.
whatever I said
Tickets?
yesterday,
might see you
same
there.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a thing.
But your repeat questions put my repeat answers on.
Right. And we can just keep going.
Right.
Yeah, we can move.
Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to Belly Up? Who are you gonna see? Cool. What are you doing after?
Right.
Where'd you have dinner? Oh, was it good? Yeah, of course it was good. It's 316 Steakhouse. That was fucking good.
Yeah.
Would you have steak? Oh, surprise.
Yeah.
Why are you asking me the question?
Right. We know.
It's a waste of my time.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, it's just uninteresting. It's like, and we've been here
But
for.
it's not uninteresting because it's how we interact in this town.
Well, it can be really boring and really repetitive, though,
Sure.
depending on how that same conversation is delivered.
Like every once in a while, I'll be like, yeah, I got up today, but then I shit my pants on the lift. And it's like, whoa, let's talk about that.
Not even
No, but I guarantee if you
No.
said that, people would be like, oh, cool. And then what did you do? And then they're not even gonna catch it till later.
Register.
They wouldn't register because they're so used to the cookie cutter answer.
point. Yeah, they're already
Cookie-
thinking about
they're-
what
they're-
they're.
yeah, come on.
They're not listening to you.
That's also a good point. So I think the
Yeah.
disruptive thing is important. And I was also thinking about that with not the disruptive, but
Well, with the city council and all that stuff, me being a conservative in a very liberal town, there's saying what I want to say and saying what I think I should say, right?
sure, yeah.
And that was very predominant here because I was told by somebody that I know very well in politics, he made it very high in politics. I won't say any names, Tom Ridge. And he told me, he gave me-
Michael Obama.
you know what? He gave me one piece of advice when I called him back to Pennsylvania and I said, hey, this is what I'm doing. Can you give me any advice? And he said, unfortunately, Mark,
You're fucked.
he said, yeah, he said, you are going to have to take the stance where every single person you talk to from this point on, you have to pretend
He's a voter.
is a liberal woman. No, that's what he told
Oh,
me.
really?
He goes, you have to pretend that every single person that you talk to, no matter what they ask you,
Speak to them as such.
you have to speak to them like they are a liberal woman because that's the only way you personally are going to get any votes outside of the 200 you got.
The
Yeah.
300 votes.
Yeah,
that we got.
right, yes. And I think I got 4 more than you.
I think you did.
I
Yeah,
think you both cleared.
that's a
300.
victory.
We both cleared
Yeah.
300.
No, you know what's funny is I think we actually did really well, all things considered. Because nobody else would run.
I think you might do better today.
I think
Oh, we
so.
do way better today.
Yeah.
I think we ran 4 years too early.
Absolutely.
The mention I was gonna give is it's not just like the people that are initiating the conversation. We've been talking a lot about what you say, how you say it. It's both sides.
Uh-huh.
And I think one of the things we were talking about with the Aspen 3-minute interaction is that we would actually respond differently to that. Like you might say, oh, you crap my pants, or I crap my pants on the way up the gondola. And to your point, people would probably just be so ready to auto respond that they wouldn't even
Yeah.
hear that. And they would just go, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
He's like, oh, hey, you want to go half Sons of Depends?
But I
Did you eat at Steve's
Yeah.
But I
too?
think also,
Oh, no.
I think also if somebody were to be like that boring talk track of oh, you went to steak, we wouldn't respond with yeah, what'd you have? It'd be oh, was Sean there? Sean's
Right.
great.
Oh.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What'd you get? How was it? How long did you stay there? Was anybody else?
Right.
Or I don't know where it would go, but
How long were
at
you
least
there?
the top level.
Yeah.
What level of alcohol abuse are we looking at here?
What's the metadata from the receipt? What'd you get to eat?
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but so I think that there's some of those things that are inherent to being disruptive.
Sure.
Without being disruptive technology. It's just, you're just disrupting the autopilot that a lot of people are running in the day to day.
But I feel like that's not just here. I feel like people that say we work in like a big office building. Hey, Bob, how you doing?
1000%.
Good, Jim. Great.
Yeah.
How's the kids? They're fine. Did you golf last weekend? Oh yeah. How'd you shoot?
You know, one of my favorite days to take off every year when I was like used to go into an office was the day after the Super Bowl. Because the last thing I wanted to hear was all the prognosticators that were like, "Oh,
Monday morning."
or the other people are like, "I thought they were going to do this." I'm like, "I will show up on Tuesday when all that is blown over. People have calmed down."
Right.
There's several days like that.
Well, I mean, probably after long breaks, like after Thanksgiving. Oh, are the in-laws in town? How's grandma's bunion or what? Like just.
There's usually some funny
It's
stories.
salty, by the way, just so you know. Yeah,
Salty?
It's salty. Yeah, I know.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I don't want to know.
But I think also an Aspen,
pays
like
well.
especially since COVID, I think more broadly, but also specifically to Aspen, like how people treat each other like post-COVID, like eye contact, whether you talk to people, locals or not. You told a story about somebody who's like been here for a few years that was like, oh my gosh,
Acts
like
like
now
owns the
like
place,
certain
right.
place, and now it's like an entitled local, where it's like you've not even gotten your first round of stripes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, man. 14 years for me, and I am not even close to local.
I'm 17 and I'm not a.
Nor am I saying I want to be local,
Sure.
according to the definition.
Yeah.
Because there's some that are just like, come on, man, Aspen's never going to be 1976, so get past it.
Sure.
Yeah,
But
everybody
I
knows
understand it
that.
changes.
Yeah.
But,
The like 60, 70, 80-year-old locals are.
Oh no, catch the 8:45 a.m. bucket on any
Oh, my God.
weekday.
Yeah.
Sit with the duct tape crew.
It's
They'll
like-
tell you.
Sure.
Yeah.
do you know the earliest I've
Especially
ever been
be
up
a
that mountain?
snowboarder and ask them if you can hop on the Gandhi with them. And they're like,
I'm like,
Yeah.
we already have 3.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, it's
Get-
seat 6.
get
So
over
I
yourself.
think 4's gonna be comfortable.
it's
They're
never
like,
gonna
move it.
Well, and you and I have spoken this. It's like the reason that this town is everything that you despise now is because everything you've done to get it to a place that now you despise.
Absolutely. No, dude, you nailed it. It's
Yeah. If you would have done different things, it wouldn't be the way that it is.
Ah,
You being a local who's been here 70 years,
pointing a bunch of fingers.
yeah, you have
in the last
ability-
10 years. At the last 10 years.
Yeah, you've done it over your 70 years.
I always say that in this town,
People that drive Lamborghinis.
Right.
yeah,
Well,
well,
hey, they've been here 3 weeks. They didn't ruin this town. You did. You had 70 years of you fucking up.
Yeah,
The
you've been
one-
here since '79, and this is what we've come to find.
Well,
We-
these are the guys
proud
too.
here.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good
but
point.
these are the guys we're talking about that every week write in the papers
Yeah.
that spent 20 and 30 years in some sort of city government or county government position.
Yeah.
And my simple answer to this is, listen, man, I go, you were the lifeguard. And instead of looking out for the swimmers, you chum the water.
Yep.
And what happens when you chum the water? You bring in the sharks.
Totally.
That's exactly what they've done.
Very good.
And now they want to blame these new lifeguards that have been, the 18-year-olds that have been here for
Yeah.
10 years or novice for 10 years.
When you and I were
Like
looking
we
for
would have
it,
gotten
so-
crucified.
Oh, big time.
Mhm.
Big time. We wouldn't have been able to do anything without getting an article in the paper.
No, yeah.
You're not gonna believe what Mark did. You're not gonna believe what Casey did.
Oh, right, for sure.
And it's like, guys, we're here trying to unfuck what you did.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not the topic of this.
Don't need to get too political.
I'm really good at getting off topic, so just
Same.
Well, where I was going with that about like, for example, the 8:45 bucket,
Mhm.
there is sometimes not like a warm welcome. And I'm guilty of it too. Like sometimes you're in the store and like this person's not from here and they're having bad behavior and you're just like, lady, just off your
Coffee
phone,
house.
out of the
Yeah.
front of the avocado, like please, I'm just trying to get. But like when I lived in Brazil, or like you've traveled a ton, like you were stationed abroad a lot, different cultures, but like I'll speak about Brazil and Spain. 'Cause that's where
Brazil.
I was Brazil.
Brazil.
And when I was in Ibiza.
did you say did you say you visited a brothel?
Yes.
Brothel?
It's a different episode.
Oh, all right.
It's a different
We
episode.
should have a brothel episode.
I've
never been
I don't know that we have enough
Yeah, I-
content.
we
Yeah, I
don't.
don't know. Yeah. But like one of the things that stood out to me always when I was living abroad, and it's like mostly Brazil, was like before you would even get into a conversation, the first thing was like "oi," which is hi,
Sure.
and it was like "e aí," it was like "what's up," and then it was like "tudo bem," like "how are you," and then it was like into the conversation. So you would say kind of hi and greet each other
Right.
and like shake hands and hug and like, like 3 or 4 different ways before you would even think about introducing to the people around you
So there's
or
like-
sitting down to the business.
So it's an etiquette. It was just like a known cultural kind of
cultural thing. It
etiquette.
wasn't known. It's just how they treat people.
But it was known.
It was the way, yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cultural.
It was cultural.
Yeah.
And same thing in Spain. It was like, hello, good buddy, how are you? These are my friends. Now let's sit, talk about the menu
Mhm.
or business or whatever.
We do that here in the States.
But I'm saying a lot of times here in Aspen, we don't.
Which is a
The
totally
server
different.
comes to your table and it's like, yeah,
Water.
we'll have the and we're still waiting on the song to
Drives
get.
me fucking
And it's like,
nuts.
hey, how about like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Or like when you go to the grocery and you ask somebody how they're doing, but you don't really mean it. It's just like a law. It's a shaded question.
What you're saying is they do actually mean it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
They will wait to, and not necessarily that they're asking how you are, but it's like,
Well, my grandma, my
yes,
bank account,
right.
my-
It's like,
yeah.
check in, like how's things? How
Right.
are you? And it's like, good. We'll talk later, but at least you're checking in,
Right.
basically.
It's like an initial greeting.
When I moved from San Diego to Denver, I was like, and I'm, had a lot of time in the Ozarks. It was not lost on me. Like Denver, when I moved here, this was, 2006 when I first came to Colorado.
Mhm.
I was so far removed from my interactions in the South that I never expected anybody to like ask me how my day was and give a flip.
Right.
And when I got to Denver, people would be like, the grocer would be like, not in like a busy King Supers, for example. Like
But
sometimes
the local town.
sometimes you gotta hustle.
Right.
But
He ate like Sprouts.
But like
The Sprouts kind of.
2
Yeah.
o'clock at King Supers on Tuesday.
Sure.
Shout out Sprouts though. But
And King Super.
Yeah.
but
Aldi.
like they would be like, how are you doing? And they would grab my first piece of grocery and be like,
Are you gonna answer?
yeah. And I'd be, oh, I'm good. They go, boop, click. And then it would go on, be like, has it been busy in here today? And we would like shoot the shit for a second. But it was a genuine interaction.
No, you're
They
right.
were-
Though. That's funny.
And maybe they were trying to pass the time because they're just standing there dealing with a bunch of zombies all day and like.
I mean, you see it at the restaurant. I'm sure you're behind the bar. Someone sits down and they're just like Budweiser.
Oh yeah, dude, no.
Right, what are we doing there? What are we doing there?
You know what I say? I go, yeah, we have those.
Do you? Good for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good for you. I think that's important.
Yeah, I dare you to ask me for a line.
Well,
Yeah.
also I think it's generational because like you have good manners. I feel like I have decent manners.
Yeah,
So-
You have an over under of drinks.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
no, actually, you're quite well behaved even
Uh,
after.
I try to be,
You are good.
but I was raised with manners. But also I grew up in Central Illinois. My grandpa's farmer. Like I grew up in that way.
Yeah.
People I think that maybe grew up in New York or busier cities, things like that are going on, maybe have less of that.
I think they feel like they have less time, so they're kind of like, Budweiser. And you're like, that might work in New York, or I hate to pick on New York. Yeah, no, I don't.
Yeah.
But
Screw New York.
but it said like when I lived in Florida, it was the Miami folk would come over to Naples, where we were Midwestern.
Mhm.
Everybody that lived in Naples at that point in time was like from Chicago or
Right.
and it was the greatest place on the planet. Then every Memorial Day or Labor Day or 4th of July
Filled up with
was
assholes.
fill up with all the assholes
Right.
from Miami,
Yeah.
who were transplants from Jersey or New York or LA for the most part. And they were like, hey, my time is more important than yours is.
Yeah.
So I can't add 2 words to what I'm ordering.
And that's
Which is
crazy.
Budweiser,
It doesn't take
please.
much more.
Or can I get a Budweiser,
I
please?
mean, please is rare.
Or hey, Bud, please.
Right, and
Yeah.
so already
AI.
already I'm on my
That's
heels.
true.
I
Right?
hate
Yeah,
canned-
totally.
So you
Yeah,
just
we've
put me on.
already- we've
So
already
you just
started
put me
off
on my
the-
heels, and that's like talking about how you approach people and how you talk to people, and we talked about this a lot with city council.
Sure.
Was everybody always said that Benjamin Franklin never lost an argument because he believed in polite argumentation.
Mm.
He never ever took a stance in a conversation or debate
Mhm.
where he put you on your heels.
Sure.
And nowadays, whether it's in a restaurant or a bar or a conversation about maybe politics or anything else, the second somebody says, hey, this is how it is, and this is boom, guess what? But if you start out by saying, what if you consider this? Or have you thought about this? Or, it's no different than saying, may I?
Sure.
Or do you have, thank you, please, thank you,
Please,
which I hate, please,
Well,
thank
the
you.
other, the
But
other wording in the restaurant is like, I'll have,
I'll
or can I get?
or I'll have, drives me nuts. It fucking boils my blood.
Right.
When,
I'd be so happy if I was serving and be like, oh, we were 86 on that.
we don't have any all halves.
I don't even have to make this up. You'll not have.
I've,
Like
you guys know who I'm talking about. We had an after party one night, and one of these girls who has since become a really good friend, but she walked in and she goes, didn't say hi to anyone in the party, didn't say hi to Jenna or whose house it was in.
right,
She just walked up and she goes, anything red will be fine.
yeah, that's my job.
What do you mean anything red?
You're like, hey, nice to meet you. Is this your home?
That's
Thank you for having me.
would have been.
Yeah.
She should have said.
Absolutely.
Say,
Red, the Doritos are over there.
yeah, red. Well, I mean, I was like, what? Anything red? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm like. Anyway, it blew my mind. But people are like that. People will. I don't do it often, but sometimes I've served tables at some of Jenna's restaurants, and hey, how you guys doing tonight? Can I get you some water? And immediately, without even eye contact, I'll have a cheeseburger, I'll have a beer, I'll have this, and
It's not what I asked.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's part of that business though. And Aspen in particular, in
Well,
my
we live
opinion.
we talk about this a lot. We live in a resort, not to cut you off, but like
Yeah.
to frame it, we live in a resort town, we live in a tourist place, so you're dealing with all kinds of people. But you can read the room. Like you mentioned at the top of the episode, you're from the Northeast mostly.
Mhm.
You've also spent tons of time, but that travel has exposed you to the different types of personality, but also you've developed a way to deal with all of those people here.
Well, I think that's really the talent of owning successful restaurants and being in the service industry is taking those people and then understanding how to handle them. I mean, is that the right word? How to handle them?
100%. And that being said, there's a reason that I don't particularly work my restaurant anymore. I don't work the bar.
Sure.
I don't work the tables unless I have to.
Sure.
Because yes, thank you. Yes, and when I worked going back to when I first got here and I worked at St. Regis, I went into their corporate manager program, and I remember one of the best things I ever heard them say was they were talking about getting these customers,
Mhm.
and I worked at the Ritz-Carlton for a little while here and there back in Florida, but when they said these people come in and they're spending, $50,000-$100,000 for 5 or 6 days here in our hotel, then they come downstairs and it's the same people every year. And they are not nice to the staff. They give us a hard time about everything. And then they come down and complain about their bill. And the best way to combat this is to say, what do you want?
Yeah.
Right?
How do I make it right?
We're not gonna give you.
Mhm.
How can we make you happy?
Mhm.
And what they're looking for is money, but
Sure.
you never bring it up, right? And then they get to the point where you have these habitual people, and what you say is, it's a shame. Unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna be able to make you happy here. And that's stuck with me forever.
Mhm.
I said, the bowling alley, I did it all the time. I would say, unfortunately, I don't think I'm gonna be able to make you happy here. There's a bowling alley 15 miles down the road.
Get fucked.
But that was my.
I mean, that's a nice way of saying get fucked.
But I tell you what, it worked better than saying, get the fuck out of my place.
Oh, totally.
And
Because then let me talk to the manager.
Let's dig on that a little bit, because I think so much we've talked about being polite.
Right.
There's
That's
sometimes
how to
you're
diffuse.
dealing, how do you deal with difficult people? I was sharing the story of my ride getting over to the studio
Right.
tonight, which was mind blowing. We have this free service that we've talked about. We're not gonna shout them out right now because
Just still butthurt as fuck.
well, they haven't sponsored us yet after 10 episodes.
Right.
It's not their fault. No.
It is a free business.
But it's based on tips, it's based on service.
So,
Yeah.
And what about when there is a person that is like that, or when things go wrong? Say the food comes out wrong, or the drink that you ordered is garbage.
I mean, all of us would go to a restaurant, order something, get the completely wrong thing, and we just probably just
Still eat it.
not
Yeah.
even say anything.
That's-
I mean, I'm that
That's
guy.
true of us.
Yeah,
Yes,
we
that's
would
true
just
of
be like,
us.
oh, well, whatever.
Like I get lettuce on my burger, I'm just like pull
I'll
the
take-
lettuce off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sending it back.
Well, there's no way I'm sending it back because I know it's gonna come back with more than lettuce on it. Oh, yeah.
Don't fuck with people that make your food
And never,
serve your food.
listeners,
Yeah.
if the restaurant closes at 10, don't walk in at 9:59.
No.
Go
Even
some,
950.
go through a
Even
drive-through.
At 9:30,
Yeah.
you're
You're pushing
kind of-
it.
You're pushing it.
You're pushing it.
Close, yes.
And you're getting it to go.
Yeah.
Totally.
When they're closed, you're out the fucking door.
Yeah.
And if you can't order and eat and be done and out the door by the time they close, you don't have enough time to eat.
Yeah, good point.
Well, with what you were saying about how do you deal with those customers,
Mhm.
it all starts once again with that polite argumentation and how they approach me.
Yeah.
So if somebody were to say to me,
You're
hey,
They pick.
hey, excuse
They
me,
pick how
sir,
it's gonna go.
excuse me, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they pick.
You know, and you have those, hey, yo, you know,
Option A, option B.
right, and you have door A and door B, right?
Or
And,
the guy that snaps at the bartender, you know?
yeah, oh, well, you know, if you snap at the bartender, you're like this, we used to, when they snap at the
Yeah.
bartender, we'd always be like, what, is there something up there?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like there was a bat on the ceiling, you know, or they go, oh, dude. Or they go, hey, chief, and I go, do I look like I'm wearing a fucking headdress? You know, and they go, what? And I go, you heard me.
Yeah.
You know, then they'd order a Guinness and I'd draw a dick on the top of it. And you know what they'd say? They'd go, he doesn't even know how to make a shamrock. I go, yeah, because it's a dick. You know, I mean,
But
but
oblivious, you're
You
oblivious.
don't even know how stupid you are.
yes. So full disclosure, listeners, I'm 54 now. In my 20s and 30s, it was a lot different.
Sure.
You know, and I didn't own my own places.
But also I feel
And
like
I respected my owner and my boss, and I didn't want to affect his business.
20 years
Now I'm the owner. There's no way you're going to affect my bottom line.
There.
I'm still going on
You're learning.
vacations.
You're a student of the game. You're
Absolutely.
curious,
Yeah.
Picking up notes from everybody, as you mentioned earlier, like how
20
you.
years ago, people had better manners.
Much
No
better.
doubt.
Yeah.
Oh, no doubt. Oh my gosh, I grew up in a restaurant.
Yeah.
And my mother and grandmother were like, it was yes, sir, no, sir, no,
100%.
ma'am, no, thank you. And we were, me and my little brothers did this, or my little brothers and I, were serving coffee over the counter. It was like 50-cent coffees to all the like, you know,
Yeah.
like AP&L workers or whatever, like before they'd go to work. And they would come up and like my mom would stand over our shoulder. And if they would, you know, the old guys would always give us a hard time. They'd be like,
Sure.
getting good grades or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, yes, sir. You know, like,
Totally.
all right, you know. And if we were not yes or no, sir, like it was just like not necessarily that, but like we definitely got that if we acted up in the store
Oh, yeah.
or like stepped out like in public. It was definitely like
SWAT on the back of the head.
public.
My dad used to flick my
public
ear.
whooping. Public whooping. Oh, my papa used to snap the back of our head.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, "Don't be a jackass,
Yeah.
Jeffrey."
I get the guy in the back of the head, but my dad he's got a crazy flicker. And he would flick my ear,
Yeah.
and I mean, there'd be days where my ear would just be numb and red and like hanging off the side of my. Anyway,
But I think that was part of like the South and the Midwest where we grew up. But I think it was also the era.
it was.
Because like you are very respectful as well. Like now we both have we all three have sides where we'll be like,
Oh, I can be a real piece of shit.
yeah, for sure, we can get there. But that's not where we start. And it takes a while. Like we're cool till we're not.
Do you feel like manners though have gone
Yes.
away?
Absolutely.
Like your kids are
People's
very
nose are on their phone. I was on the service not to be named earlier
right.
on the way over here, and we had a shared ride. It's also not part of the
Not
deal.
what you signed up for.
And these two girls were in the back seat, just like running YouTube videos with no headphones out loud.
Oh yeah, no, that's a hard no.
And I looked off over my shoulder like 4 times just to like non-verbally give the cue of like, what the F?
They
are
had no
you
idea
doing?
what you were doing.
No clue.
Yeah.
Didn't pick up on that. Like,
Nobody ever told them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, social cues.
Yeah.
People don't read social cues anymore.
Well, it's like, I don't want to watch that YouTube video and you're also not sharing it with me. So like, what are we doing here?
Were they attracted?
And the driver
Were
has-
they attracted?
No.
Oh.
Would it change?
100%.
No.
Yeah, hot
It
girls
would
get away
not.
with way more shit.
That's true, but not this. This is a hard line.
Yeah.
I'm not going to allow this.
No, I think here's what.
But like eye contact, respect of like shaking someone's hand. We didn't even talk about handshakes. People don't even know how to shake a hand these
All right.
days.
Fist bumps. We're not in COVID anymore. If you're meeting someone for the first time, especially man to man, that's a handshake. And when you shake someone's hand, is
Yep.
firm grip,
Eye contact.
eye contact, and how you shake a hand
Meat
is
to meat.
meet to meet. It's your thumb and your index finger in that crevice
Yeah.
where they meet.
Yeah.
That hits first. You don't close your hand until that hits.
Yeah.
And then that hits, and then you close hands. It's firm, but it's not hard. It's not weak. And
Early in my sales career, I ran it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
eye contact.
I didn't mean to.
Nice to meet you. And
That's
it's nice to repeat their
And an
name.
appropriate hold.
Yeah.
Oh, the repetition of the
Yeah.
name's a good thing. Yeah, I like that too. That helps remember it, but it also helps them like feel acknowledged.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know, like Jeff Hansen. Oh, whoever that is.
Greenwood knows for like an hour.
Yeah.
right?
God damn it. Jeff Casey.
Yeah.
Oh, Casey Jeff, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
You repeat your name and their name and their name and your name, and then
Yeah.
the memory thing, and
I like
like you
that.
said, the recognition is how I was taught.
Totally.
And then nice to meet you. And if you're of similar age, good to meet you is fine. If someone's older than you, it's always nice to drop a sir. Nice to meet you, sir.
So I ran some sales offices like in my like late teens, early 20s,
Mhm.
where I would interview literally 100 people a day.
Mhm.
Like I would have 3 sessions of like 30 applicants coming in. I know that adds up to 90, but whatever.
Mhm.
And I would immediately dismiss people if they walked into my office, looked at the floor, and shook my hand like a limp fit.
Gave you like a bitch.
I'd give them an
Yeah.
application and I would let them come sit in front of me and try to redeem themselves, but
Sure.
they were already like on the wrong side of it.
You're already -5.
And unless you did plus 15 in that like, 30-second
Right.
pre-interview that I had with you, we were done here.
Well, I mean, to me, that's that's a giant. How I read that is that's a lack of confidence. And if you're
Yeah.
not confident, in what
Which is
you're
why I
doing,
would still give them the application and let them come in my office. I
Sure.
would give you a chance.
because it might help you with your confidence down the road.
I could help you with your
Right.
confidence, and I knew
But,
that.
but if someone comes in and they introduce themselves, whether it be for a job
Yep.
or whether it be just a regular interaction, if you're not confident, that tells me a couple of things. One, you're lying about your ability.
Mm.
You're lying about who you are,
Mhm.
or you're just a real piece of shit and you've done some bad stuff and you're
Yeah.
embarrassed about who you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. Ooh.
And I don't want to interact with any of those people.
Yeah, fair. Good points. That's all very true. All right, so clearly we have no problem carrying on a conversation amongst the 3 of us.
No.
I'm curious what you guys think. What are some of the keys to like doing that? Because I think you guys are both better at it than I.
I would disagree. I would completely disagree.
I don't think I'm bad at it, but
Here's the thing.
the reason we have Mark here is because of like I think he's elevated, and the reason why we're really good friends. I have a tremendous amount of respect of how you treat people.
Thank you. I feel the same way about you. We should get each other's numbers later. I think I know no one can see me, but I can be a little intimidating. I'm tall, I'm broad shouldered, I'm loud, I got a beard, I'm usually half in the bag.
Mark, this is why we don't do things. It wasn't because of you.
Yeah.
being
Oh,
Because of
okay.
me.
So I got all purdied up.
You smell
Did the
great.
best I can. Look at that.
I'll get your number later too. No, but so I think it surprises people. I think people assume one thing. 90% of the time I'm wearing a big ass cowboy hat, so they think I'm gonna be some,
Yeah.
just hillbilly.
One of the first
redneck.
things most everybody.
Right.
You don't look approachable,
No, not at all.
and you're extremely approachable.
I go out of my way to try to be nice to people.
Yeah.
And it's not an act, it's not a joke. I genuinely do
Yeah.
care. As my wife is laughing.
Because getting in the studio that's begging to differ
Yeah.
with some of the
Well,
things. that
here's
you
the
said.
thing.
Rebuttal.
The people you love the most are also the people that hate you the most. Yeah. And they're also the people that see the worst in you. Jenna has by far seen the worst in me, just like my parents have, just like my sister have. The people that you're closest to have
Yeah.
seen you the most undressed, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't mean, well, physically too. She's seen me pretty naked.
All right.
Moving forward.
Sorry about that, Jenna.
We all got distracted. Put your hooters away, babe. No, so, but is the term empathy? Like, I genuinely do care when I meet someone, I talk to someone, I genuinely do care. So I can have like an honest interaction.
What I think is the biggest things is like when you meet somebody who's being curious, as opposed to just being assumptive or just like running your own talk track. Like, here's what's on my agenda.
Right.
I think it's like, where are you from? What are you doing here? Like, why are you doing that? Like, how's it going? And you can have like, those are very generic questions, not to go back on what we said earlier, but you can ask them in a way that's like, oh, well, I'm just trying to get to like the lay of the land so that I know what to dig in on and like what to talk to you about from there.
I always feel like when people do that though, that like here in particular, they're fishing.
Yeah.
Like, what can you do for me?
Oh,
Like, where are you? Like,
Oh.
I'm telling you, like, where are you on the totem pole compared
Yeah.
to me?
yeah.
And
Yeah,
I think
that
that's a
feels
little bit everywhere, but here in particular,
Well, one question.
it's like,
Yeah,
are you able to help me more than
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can help you?
yeah.
Whether it's a bar or a
point.
drink or tickets or club or whatever.
Where do you work?
Yeah,
That's my
exactly.
number one pet peeve.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I will never ask someone, what do you do? Because as we get to know each other, maybe I'll be like, oh, so what kind of line of work are you, whatever, because it's something to visit about. But when you meet someone within the first few minutes and they go, what do you
Well,
do?
that's like the pattern disruption I was talking about earlier, because it's so boring to be like,
But that's
what
what
do you
you're
do?
talking.
And what most
Yeah,
people
absolutely.
mean is their
Yeah.
profession.
Right.
Now, I don't want to go to the other side of the spectrum where people are like, well, I'm a connector of spirits and a healer of humans. And you're like,
Get
okay,
fucked. I gotta go.
yeah, like, we're done here. But somewhere in there, I was like, oh, I
But
travel,
also,
I
a
do.
great way to end conversation with
Yeah,
people.
you gotta fuck with
Talk
people
to.
like that because it's kind of strange. Because a voice told me to meet you.
Nice.
Well, I mean,
I like that.
goes along.
One of the voices told me to come meet you. The other one said to kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here I am in front of you.
No,
with
but
conflict.
That's the thing, especially out here, and you're exactly right, because everyone's, even on
All
weekend,
qualifying.
yeah, like, oh, you do this, oh, you do that, you sell houses, what kind of house do you sell? Oh, you're in business, what kind of business, who
Yeah.
do you work for? And really, it's like, they're asking you, do I make more money than you? Am I more important than you?
Yeah.
Or are you more important than me?
Or how can I use
How can I
you
better myself?
to
Right.
which
Yeah.
I'm not saying is a bad thing.
No, not at all.
Because
Not
if you
at all.
can find like mutually beneficial, networking,
Yeah.
that's great.
Mhm.
But in the dude, like it's on the
Oh, I
bucket,
make
dude.
fish sticks.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
but I
sell
don't
fish.
Yeah.
I don't
Let's
like
hang
the-
out.
Yeah, I don't like the pushing.
I don't either.
Like the.
Well,
Yeah, well, I work at a fish processing plant, and then I get to the top of the gondola and I go, my last name is
Oh.
Wharton.
Dude, one of my
You know,
one of my
I
best
mean-
friends. This is another story of like an impactful person. Right when I moved to Colorado, I really got folded into some cool guys. And one of my other friends, like one of the best looking dudes, like every time we would go out, every single 9, 10, or 11 that would be in the bar was like hawking on my buddy.
So you were the grenade.
No, I was like in the middle of the crew somewhere.
was he better looking than me?
I hope the mic picked that up.
Yeah.
Anyway, guy was phenomenally good looking. Also, like Army, ex-Army, ex-MMA, ex like Iowa wrestler, like stud dude, good looking dude, cool dude.
Mhm.
A little dumb, but cool.
Which can be endearing.
Shout out to you, I'll tell you later. But was like an amazing dude and a ton of fun. Just knew how to have
Got it. You had a crush on this
It
guy.
was always cool. Kind of did. I mean, like honestly, you just game recognize game. I was
Sure.
like, this is a guy who's like good at things that like I don't necessarily think I'm as good at. But like, where was it going? So I had so much setup. What we were just talking about.
Ask
So he
people
had a
what
big
they do for
influence on you when you
Oh,
first moved
yeah.
here, yeah.
So what he would say is when people were like, "What do you do?"
Mhm.
He was like, "Oh, I work for waste management. I have a daily route." He would just totally like,
And you weed out all the
and
Yeah.
people would be like, "Oh, that's interesting."
Yeah.
And he'd be like, "Okay, cool, done."
Right.
And then people would be like, "Oh," or like he would just treat people differently.
Sure.
Yeah.
Based on how they responded. And when people were like, "Oh, great, I have a job too,"
Mhm.
then they could move forward. But
My
he would,
question would be like, what kind of truck do you drive?
yeah, but he like that was his thing, and he would say it like unabashedly. He would just be like, "Yeah, I work for waste management. I have a trash route,"
Mhm.
and it was funny because like some people would treat him differently.
No, absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
no,
that
no, no,
leads into
yeah.
the story that I was getting ready to say. I was watching this same kind of thing. What do you do for a living? He's like, I work in vehicle maintenance, auto repair. And he
Yeah,
owned like Jiffy Lube. He was like a fucking gazillionaire or whatever. Because he owned like every oil change place in the country. He's
Yeah.
like the guy.
yeah.
But people would treat him like he was just like a dumbass grease monkey.
That's how Papa John was. They said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I make pizza."
Yeah.
And if they didn't know he was, most of them already knew he was Papa John.
He's hard to,
But for the ones
hard
that
to not
didn't, yeah.
recognize.
But yeah, no, and he would always go, "Yeah, I make pizza," and sometimes people would be like, Yeah, whatever.
So I think part of this.
But they dodged a bullet with him.
I think part of knowing how to treat people is like living life.
Totally.
Like you got to be interesting. Like you should do some things. Have some stories to tell.
Also, I think if someone's way overly too excited to tell you what they do for a living, it's like.
Well, like, for example, I was sitting at Sundeck the other day with a friend, and her and I are sitting at this table, and this guy that she knows comes through, and he's got his daughter with him, and he like stops and he goes, "Oh, hey, friend, how's it going?" And I don't know the guy, so he's just saying hi to her, and you know, I guess the daughter hadn't met her. And so he's excited to like introduce the daughter because this is like they've known each other for a while. And he goes, "Hey, how's it going?" And you know, "Hi, I'm Jeff." And so we don't even do that. Like this should be expected. So he walks up, says hi to my friend. He goes, "Oh, good to see you. This is my daughter. What's going on?" And I'm sitting there like, okay, you're not even going to acknowledge the other human in this conversation. There are 4 of us here.
Awkward interaction.
So this is already like.
But should she have said, "This is my friend Jeff"?
No, maybe, yes, but the didn't lend itself. The setup didn't lend itself to that. It was like I thought you were just saying hi. Here's my daughter, and we're going to keep moving. But now you've stopped,
Standed, and now there's this awkward.
and you're
pause.
expecting us to pick up the conversation. You've stopped, and you're like, "So what's going on?" It's like, well, we were having a conversation before you arrived and interrupted, and we were happy to like meet the little munchkin. Like, cool, she's cute. High five.
Gotta be fucked
Are
with.
you skiing today? Like, move on. Like, can we go back to the combo? And he stood there expecting us to entertain him, like ask him a question, and he still hasn't introduced across the group, or she hasn't because we're all.
So what did you do?
I just sat there and let it play.
You just let.
I'm gonna let this guy swing.
Awkward off.
I'll see you and raise you.
Yes, I can
More
make this
silent.
weird.
I can be more silent than you can.
And now I'm gonna tilt my head while I make eye contact with you.
And it was this weird thing, and this went on for like, this doesn't sound like a long time, but if you sit, it was 3 or 4 minutes, and if you sit with someone who you don't know,
Right.
with this awkward of like, "How's it going?" "Well, we're just skiing." "Yeah, we were too."
Everyone here is.
Now we're in the sun deck. "Yeah, we are too." Like, it was a stupid conversation
painfully
where I was like, you know what? I've got food sitting over that's getting cold. You've interrupted our meal and our conversation. I don't care who you are any longer. I'm gonna go back to my life.
You owe me 5 minutes.
1000%. Your daughter's adorable, but we're moving.
Right.
You know, but like no awareness.
So
of,
what do you-
like
what do you-
what's going on?
What do you guys think is the actual etiquette? So like, say.
Well, if she actually remembered who he was,
No, they knew each other. That was fine. It was all good.
Like,
It was fine to say hi, but it wasn't okay to stop and then like force us to like carry the conversation and ask you about what you're up to.
Yeah, I'm not talking
from
about.
her side of it, I would have said it. I would have made the introduction if I would have known, "Hey, this is my friend Jeff."
And she
This is
normally
good.
does. And she
Yeah,
normally
so I think that would
Well,
change
and
the entire dynamics of
And
it.
if I were you, and I get wanting to see where
But it wasn't
goes.
like, it wasn't a conversation that was interruptible to like really be like it shouldn't have been interrupted.
I get
You know what I mean?
seeing where you. I would have had I been in your shoes because I can't do awkward silences. It fucking drives me nuts.
No,
I can if I don't like you.
I usually will introduce
You know,
myself.
I just like, hey, I'm Jeff.
And the friend I was with was like
Yeah.
very much about
Oh,
like introducing.
right, and he very easily could have done that as well.
But that's what I.
Sorry to interrupt. My name's Mark.
But
Do you
now
guys-
we've reached this impasse where like now I'm gonna like let this play out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys do this if you don't know someone's name? You introduce your friend.
And they always fuck it up.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
like,
hi.
geez, yeah.
I'm like, no, hi, I'm so and so. Get them to say
Yeah.
their name so I can remember them.
Yeah, I'm almost at the point where I'm just kind of like, yeah, dude, I'm sorry. I've already got enough information in here. I don't have room for any more.
Yeah.
And it's not out of disrespect, but I just don't remember your fucking name.
Well, but also too, it's like, or maybe you're just not memorable.
But I have to say that all the time because I've been in sales like my entire life, but I'm terrible at names.
Yeah.
And I went down this like mindset of like, look, if you were more interesting, I remembered you the first time I met you, Mark.
Same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Never forgot you.
Never-
Yeah, because you know why? Because he's like, I hope I never meet that fucking guy again.
No, not
Right?
true.
Yeah.
Not true.
So
Not
you're
true.
clear.
Was that at Eagles?
No, we were on the
For the first time.
patio, we were on the
It was
patio here.
What, 4th of July party?
So you guys met
Yeah.
here?
Yeah, we met
No
here.
shit.
I didn't know if it was here or at Eagles that one day. We were throwing a football.
Yeah.
I don't remember the first time I met you. It probably was a dollar bar.
Nope, outside Escobar, summer.
Okay. Well, it was during your dollar bar time, right?
Probably owned it then, yeah.
I feel
Yep,
like it would
yep.
have been right around. Because what,
Yeah.
that's 10 years ago, 8 years ago?
At least 8, yeah.
8 to 10 years, somewhere in there.
All right, so let's talk about that. You know, this is like a segue into like, look, you know, people go on dates sometimes. People are trying to have like bro down conversations, or you have friends from out of town where you're huddled up. And then you have like your acquaintance or like ski buddy that, you know, there's less than an acquaintance. Like you like the guy, but like you don't really like call each other for things, you know.
Someone you bump into at a bar.
But like, how do you manage that as a local when you go in and like, for example, you see like I love Jenna and Casey. So if I walked in and saw you two sitting at a bar, you're probably the only two people that I would actually interrupt. Just because of like our relationship.
Right, and you know where you stand, your family. And so it's not even interrupted.
But if I saw like Reese and Caroline in a place, like if we made eye contact from across,
That's all it takes.
and you gave me like the nod,
No, totally, man,
like,
yeah.
then I might come over and be like table touch, like, hey, Caroline, good to see you. Oh, hey, what's up, Harry? Mark, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. And I would stay there for like 30 seconds.
Sure.
And do the like abbreviated version of the Aspen
Catch you later.
conversation. Where are you coming from? What
Right.
you doing? What's for dinner?
Are you out later?
Those shrimp look really good.
Oh, yeah.
Are you gonna eat that?
Yeah, no.
Never,
You know what I mean?
I never had one of those before. It looks really good.
Is that an extra
Yeah.
chair too?
Oh.
No, but I mean, come on, you would never interrupt us.
But my point is like there's
Yeah.
layers of respect.
Yeah.
You know, and there's other people that I might see like, oh, my buddy's out on a date with a girl that I've never seen him before. Or like I had friends in town last weekend, so I'm having lunch at White House. Shout out White House Tavern. And we're having lunch there, and I see Benji, like 2 tables down. But Benji's with like an older couple, and like
Sure.
it looks like maybe his aunt and some people are in from out of town. I don't know them. I've never seen them. I don't think that they're local.
Hey Ben, how you doing? Good to see you.
I made him make the call. We were gonna walk right by the table. He had already seen me across the way, but we weren't like running across the patio to go like, say what's
We
up.
haven't seen each other
It was
in
like
20 years.
as we paid our check and
You weren't gonna do a
exited-
Blades of Glory at the restaurant? Yeah.
The place I gotta
Out, Blades of Glory.
I gotta
One of the greatest movies ever.
Chad Michaels.
We went to Chaz, Michael.
A nice devouring sex tornado.
But like I looked into Benji, like we made eye contact as
Sure.
I was walking down, and Benji stood up, and I was like, "Cool, what's up, brother?" Like gave him a hug, like chatted for literally 30 seconds, like.
Did he
"Hey,
introduce
Ben,
you to-
good to no,
No?
not at all.
Right.
And I looked around the table, and he didn't bite on that.
Sure.
So I was like, "All right, cool. This is just a quick like hi and bye.
Read the room.
Good to see you."
Totally.
And then I kept moving, but it was all love. Like he was cool about it. I was cool about it. We said hi to each other. We acknowledged each other, in that instance. But that was it. And like it was perfect.
Sounds like a totally normal.
It was totally normal.
Right, exact interaction.
But it was because I know Ben really well. Ben knows how to read the room also. Yeah. So that was kind of like, read the room, how long to stay. I think one of the biggest things that I'm curious about you two is like, you guys are both really funny in those little like quips and those little interactions, Like what's to that? What's behind that?
I don't know. It's
Yeah.
so like,
Well, I know what it is.
what is it? Because I don't know.
We both used to be really obese.
That's
When
not
you- and
true.
when-
That's not you.
And when you're the fat kid, you gotta be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty sure
No.
that's it.
I was never fat.
Dude, I
This is
wrestled,
the fattest I've ever been in my entire life.
I wrestled 98.
Whatever chubby chubs.
I wrestled 98 my sophomore year of high school. Yeah, so no, I was never fat.
That's the fat kid.
I wasn't a fat kid.
I was 135 as a freshman.
Oh, you know what? No,
As a sophomore.
sophomore, yeah. I got a varsity as a freshman because I was the only guy under 100 pounds. We put on maybe 5 pounds the next year.
Did you win every match because there was nobody smaller?
No, actually, I went like 2.
Nobody else in the state was 98.
Because he had to
No.
wrestle the girls.
Yeah, no, we weren't allowed to do that then. I was like 2 and like 18 my
Not like
first year.
today.
2 and 18 my first year, undefeated my second year.
Oh,
So, yeah.
man.
But
Nice,
no,
nice.
here's for me what it is. So everybody thought that I was a military brat growing up, but my dad worked for GE. So I moved, I think 11 times before I was
fair.
18 years.
Oh, right from.
And
You know
and
what?
for-
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Because I I didn't move a lot, but I was on a different hockey team every year. So I had to make new friends.
You were the new, yeah.
I was always the new guy.
So just exposure to different personalities and ways.
Yeah, and what's
Well,
the best way to break ice?
Yeah.
Totally.
If
You
you're
know?
the quiet guy in the corner, you're gonna get picked on.
Yeah.
So it's best to just not be the quiet guy in the
yes,
corner.
absolutely. Yeah, no doubt that. Now, so through that, what I learned, which I thought was like a curse my entire life, because I did like go to every time I thought I was a cool kid, I got thrown into a new school
Yeah,
where I
never
was
had
the
friends for-
where I was a 98-pound weakling, right? And
Wrestling girl.
and then guess and then I had to you know, find a way to like find that piece of common, you know, make somebody laugh or become that, you know, and also in a way not being a threat.
Do you have any way to like, can you recall like how you did that or how you do that? Like how do you search that?
Before you answer that question, because I know Jenna's in the room, I would just like her to hear that you said that you think I'm funny sometimes. She doesn't think I'm funny.
Duly noted, but my editor is gonna cut that part.
All right, well, whatever.
Right.
Fuck your.
You know, years later, not when I was just young, because
It's our editor.
when you're young, I think you develop it, right? You develop it when you're young, and it's
I think that's.
and listen,
yeah.
being funny, I think when you're young, for some people it might be, oh well, you know, nowadays with all the social media stuff, well, I want to be a star in Hollywood or whatever. When I was young, probably being funny was a defense mechanism.
100%.
So
yeah.
so every time I moved to somewhere new, I'm like, listen, I'm not big, I'm not a bully, I'm not a tough guy.
Yeah,
So how can I win people over other than giving them my lunch, right?
right, sure.
So hey, I'm a nice, friendly, funny
Now,
kid.
that's-
Because the banking situation.
Yeah.
And
And you know, the next time I get beat by a girl wrestling, and then I came to realize years later, after resenting my parents for so long, for making me move all these times,
Yeah.
and that, you know, go through the torture chamber every time I went to a new school,
Oh my God.
trying not to be scared, whatever.
Yeah.
Is I tell you what, man, you could throw me anywhere in the world with a room full of however many people, and I'll find something in common with
I
them.
believe it.
Because and that's how we met, and that's how we met, and that's how we know each other.
That's 100%.
You could literally throw out a name of a city anywhere in the United States, and I could be like, well, I met a guy from Jim there once who drove, you know,
My favorite burger joint is not Jordan.
who had sex in a Yugo. So I had a band called,
There.
so I had a band called
Well,
Sexual Yugo.
I think
You know, I mean-
memory is also a big
Yeah.
part of being able to recall and align with somebody of like previous past experiences. That's a big thing too. And as people get older, they a lot of times focus on like today.
Sure.
You know, not even being present, but like just what's their life like today, and they forget some of the
Also, too, I think
connection.
I don't really take myself too seriously, and I don't take a lot of other things that seriously. You can put me in a terrible situation, and I will find something funny about that situation. And like, but I think that's something you're the same way.
Yeah, I mean,
I think we all are. That. I
think
just
you
don't
guys-
take anything seriously. I think everything's a joke because
Well, it's
it
also
doesn't
about this-
fucking matter.
That's what I was thinking about the service industry when you mentioned like the funny thing about when the guy's like Budweiser, and you're like, yeah, we have those. Like you're not taking it personally either.
No,
You know, it's like,
oh, I do. Now I do. I'm
Do
old.
you?
I'm old.
do you?
Yeah, yeah.
the only thing I take
But it
personally.
doesn't hurt you.
But
Like,
you-
it
but
doesn't
here's the thing.
change.
No, it doesn't. You know, I got to look at it like, hey, man, this guy's got money.
Yeah,
And-
right.
And he's gonna give it to me.
And he's
Yes,
sitting in my
and
room.
you know what?
I have-
Take his money
I
and
have a
laugh
fish on
all the way to
hook.
the
I have a
bank.
fish on the hook. for
I mean,
sure.
I yelled. I didn't yell at you. A guy cut into my parking spot yesterday, as a matter of fact, city market, like blatantly. And I jumped out of my car hot and fast, and he was an older gentleman. It turned out it was a total accident, right?
He just couldn't see.
Well, a total accident on his part. He did not realize.
Oh shit.
And he was like, oh my gosh, I'll move. I said, you know what? I go, it's clearly an accident.
It's all yours, old timer.
Keep the space,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
And then I beat the shit out of him for a while.
Yeah.
And then I,
That
yeah.
guy.
right. And I threw his keys on the roof of City Market. He's still looking for them. But no, but when it came to
And
that,
That's exactly what I'm talking
And
about.
now he's got a broken hip.
That kind of levity on a story like that, to be able to like understand, you know, kind of what the funny piece of what like my behavior was, even if you did say like respond poorly,
Sure.
like, okay, cool, I'm not gonna beat myself up over that because that's like one of the few times that you've done that,
yeah,
you know, and for the most part you operate in restraint and you're out of respect and you're thinking about maybe put myself in the other person's shoes, right? But we all have that, like, piece of us where you're like, yeah, I am gonna take this motherfucker's keys and throw it on the roof.
I've seen a chick throw a dude's keys in the lake.
No.
She was backing up his trailer, and he was in the boat trying to put it on the trailer. He was cussing her.
People in a relationship should not do that
They
together.
should not boat together.
Yeah, you should not go to the boat ramp with somebody you're in a relationship with.
Yeah,
You picked them up on the shore after you were
You just, yeah, you
He
just,
was
yeah.
in the boat cussing her out because she couldn't get the trailer in the water, and she literally took the keys out of the truck, threw them in the lake, flipped them
All right.
off, and walked off.
I don't know if this is a good segue, but we're getting close to wrapping this thing up.
Let's talk about etiquette in a few specific places.
Well, I don't know if this is where you were taking us, but I was going to talk about guy code a little bit, about like how guys talk to guys. We've talked a lot about how we talk to the general public,
Right.
but like we're all guys in the studio, and let's talk a little bit about like, I don't know,
Man code.
some of the elements of like what you do when. So we talked about the cool guy nod from across the room that I mentioned. Like that's a signal, right?
But there's two ways though. There's a cool guy nod, and then there's a dismissive kind of.
Oh, I was gonna say,
Like-
let's go get it on. Anyway.
Oh yeah, let's go get what on.
Fuck.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, I thought you meant get it on like, no, man, we're going outside.
It's go time.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
whoop your
You
ass.
should not have just.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah, let's-
that's
let's-
what I meant. That's more-
let's just stop that right there.
Well, I guess like kind of like how not to be a douche guy.
Sure.
Right. Like how not to be that guy.
I-
And a lot of that is like how you approach other dudes versus how you approach dudes with their girls versus how you approach females that have dudes or females that are single.
I think don't take yourself too fucking seriously. Cause you get me.
Casey's the best at opening discussions. So many times Casey's like I've been single from time to time, and Casey will be like, Jeff, you need to go talk to that table. I'm not a good opener. Casey's a great opener. And Casey will just like lean over and be like, some words. And all of a sudden the whole table's like, tell me about your friend. You know? Like you're really good at it.
When
I have no idea what I say. It's so
Yeah.
it's so heat of the moment. Just
Yeah.
do they just let him out on weekends, or does he? You know,
Usually I end up just making fun of myself or something. Because
but comedy though. I mean,
I attempted.
And-
And
and it's very like we talked about.
and
It's
have a
very,
little self-deprecating humor, and
But also it's so unassuming coming from me. Because
Right, yeah.
again, like
physically present.
Yeah,
like
people are-
physical presence.
this guy might be talking to me because he's about to rip my arms off.
So be nice.
Right. And then I'm
I
like,
don't want to die.
yeah, and then I'm like, oh, I really like your shoes. And I'm like, what?
but you're also holding a Zima,
Right.
so it kind of just it kind of
Version 2.0 of this show is a great
Oh,
video.
Wait, you guys, give me enough time to get my teeth fixed.
I think they're perfect.
Yeah. Oh yes.
No,
I think that's
I think that's it. Like, you ever meet the guy and he's like, got his bedazzled jeans on and his tap out shirt or his whatever.
Oh, I
Oh,
know.
we used to have a competition about this, by the way. Who could get closest and get a photo
Yeah.
without getting talked to?
And this,
Oh.
and this guy-
Nobody was worried about getting beat up by somebody to tap out.
no, 100% no.
1,000%.
That's the safest guy ever.
So you guys, a little history.
How close could I get to you and get a photo that I could send to my friends for credibility?
What was the other one that had like the dragons on it?
What the fuck? You wouldn't have said it.
Hardy, Ed Hardy.
Yeah, that wasn't MMA though.
No,
How do you
it
say?
wasn't- yeah, but it was still
So,
douchey.
so listen, there's a little history. I owned an MMA gym for 7 years. And anybody that
There was
wore a
another-
tap out shirt, it's like what they say now is tell me a Von Dutch. Oh yeah.
Von Dutch
I
is
actually had a
good.
cool Von Dutch shirt at one point, but a jacket. But it's like the tap out stuff was tell me you've never done MMA without telling me you've never done MMA.
Totally.
And it was True Religion and
Yeah,
fucking,
there's a bunch of-
tap out and Affliction.
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 That was the one I was
Yeah.
That was the one I was thinking of.
Winter chicken dinner. Affliction.
Yes.
Dude,
that's it.
please.
Affliction shirt.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
mean-
God.
But the thing is, like,
Yes.
say like you're a friend of a friend or whatever, and you get introduced to this guy, and you're like, "Hey, how you doing?" And they're just like, all like puffed up, and,
Yeah.
like, "Argh," and like try to out handshake you, and it's like, all right, dude, you're a fucking douchebag.
Yeah.
Like, chill out.
Also, I'm gonna throw
Relax.
True Religion jeans in there. If you have them, throw them away.
But it's if you have any of the
Whatever
shit
True
just
Religion,
mentioned,
you already got the revenue. I'm not shouting out.
uh,
shouting out any of them.
no, but it's like it's like, come on, man, take yourself seriously. We're all humans. We're all taking up space. We're all trying to do the best that we can do with what we got.
Right.
And we're all just trying to make it through. And
Oh, by the way, those afflictions, they only came in medium.
medium.
Yes.
No,
Medium.
they did have an extra medium on it.
Extra
Yeah, they did have
medium.
extra,
So medium and extra medium.
extra medium, yeah.
So everybody go get another tighter t-shirt. There aren't any. We looked. Is that off Transformers or some shit?
Yeah. Well, all right. So I think the last thing that I had for us to tee up was like, how do you get out of these uncomfortable conversations? Like once you realize, even though you didn't have your affliction shirt on,
You're the guy. You're
That's what I wear when I want to keep people away.
Yeah, dude, that's
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
a good idea.
I mean, obviously the easiest way is to just shit your pants.
Yes.
Everyone's gonna leave.
What was the meme that's
How about depends, I guess.
This episode sponsored by pooping your pants.
there's a meme that I saw and you guys might have seen it, but it said something like it's like the third time I did this, you should have known I wasn't interested in what you were saying. And I can't remember what the meme was, but it's like like the third time, like cool
yeah,
or
totally. Yeah, totally.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. If I say yeah, totally 3 times, you
You've
just
lost-
let's stop
you've lost your
talking about whatever it might be.
I like to make a couple of racist comments, and usually that drives people away.
You can't do that in a small town. You know you're gonna see that guy at the bar.
I know, and actually I don't.
You know.
Yeah, but in Aspen, we're all just white Christians, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I forgot it. My bad.
No, but hey, I think to get out of conversation. Hey, great to meet you. Hey, nice talking to you. Put your hand out there, give me a handshake.
Like, what if you
I
know
don't
someone's
fucking hate
here
you,
and
but
you've had
that's
a
wrong.
previous conversation? How do you avoid that? Like, once you make
Dude, yeah.
I think you do the hey, how you doing? Oh man, great, nice to see you, and you walk away.
yeah.
Handshake, good to
Do
see
you
you.
say you're in a hurry or have somewhere to be?
I
Or you just
No.
That's kind of hard when you turn around and talk to somebody else.
Hey man, nice to
Less
see
is
you.
more.
Yeah.
Less is more. Don't say too much.
Yeah.
Don't pay yourself into a
Yeah.
corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Nice seeing you.
Yeah.
Well, let's catch up later.
Yeah.
Anything like that, but it's basically goodbye.
Yeah, I mean,
Alright.
we're all messing around here. The truth of the matter is we are all polite, and we're not out to hurt anybody's feelings or anything. But we all do have a light switch, and at some point you got to say,
Enough is enough. Yeah.
back off.
I mean, I've
You know?
definitely stood there and listened to
Yeah.
people tell me
Oh.
about shit.
Probably
I'm the
way
worst.
longer
I'm
than
the
you ever
worst.
should.
I'll stick around.
I
way
put it up with it
longer,
for a
either
half hour, an hour, and just been like,
God.
just, I think I got a great life. I'm happy with my life. And what's it take for me, like it's no skin off my back, to deal with this guy who's just like,
Well,
I'm not saying thrilled to talk to me, but happy talking to
Needs a
me
couple minutes.
and hanging out.
Well, the other thing is,
I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna
Indulge
absorb
that.
it, I'm gonna sponge it in.
Yeah.
And so he walks away going, that was cool.
I'm the same way too.
Yeah.
I feel the same.
Yeah.
That might have been the best
And- but then
interaction
again-
he's had all day.
But then again, I get taken advantage of sometimes because of it.
Yeah.
Because there are pros in this town. There are pros everywhere, but there are what do they call them? In Seinfeld, they had them sidlers.
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 I'm unfamiliar.
They want to sidle up to you.
Oh,
Like
Sam.
sidlers, and then they
Uh,
just want to talk to you, and you
now
can't
you're
get
buds.
fucking rid of
It's
them.
like, yeah.
Yeah, sidling. They're
Well,
sidling.
and I don't like that when you're in a group of like 8 people and then it breaks into like three,
Sure.
and you get stuck with the outcast.
The grenade,
Yeah.
like you and your wrestling buddy from Iowa. Yeah,
Wearing an affection shirt.
you were number 8.
He told me I was a wingman. I believed it for like a long
No, you're the grenade. You're the landmine.
But you know, I gotta piss so bad. I gotta hit the restroom real quick.
Yeah.
Dude, I was about to say the
I'm
same thing.
gonna go get another drink. Do you want something? You know?
Yeah.
And I'm the master of like knock and drop. Like I'll bring you like a Miller High Life and like
Sure.
cheers you and be like,
Oh, I thought you were serious because I really got to piss
Do you?
again, dude.
well, we're revving up here.
Yeah.
We're wrapping up.
We're revving it up here.
I would like to.
The last thing I want to mention about this piece is like, what do you do when people are like, and you're in this conversation? Like, it could be somebody you like, but let's start with people that were in these uncomfortable conversations, and they start dicking around on their phone.
We're done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just turn around and walk away.
but I do find myself sometimes doing that when I'm really uninterested.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
also a
Like
good
if you
cue.
see,
It's a good cue.
but I catch myself all the time going, "This ain't cool."
Yeah. I don't like
Yeah.
the phone exit. I don't like
Yeah.
the phone interruption.
I don't like
It's not
it,
my favorite thing.
But if I've given you 4 or 5 social cues,
no,
and
but
you still
also if
can't-
you're that bad,
I'm giving you guys a social cue right now.
you get the social cue.
well, when you're 55 years old, you gotta take a piss every half an hour.
But if he had the pens,
But if he had the pens,
he could stay in the studio. It would be great. That sounds like our most likely sponsor today.
What? I feel like there's something else.
But also when people are distracted, they're looking beyond you, they're watching who's coming through the door behind you. Like, why are you even talking to me if you care about who's coming next more anyway?
Let's do a recap, and then when he gets back, let's wrap this.
Did you read the notes? Because it says summary of previous points.
Clearly, that's how we got to where I'm going.
Is that right?
So, takeaways from this episode: don't wear affliction t-shirts. If you're ordering drinks at the bar, be polite. Don't snap your fingers. Don't raise your hand. If you know the bartender's name, probably don't use it if it's busy because they hate other people at the bar knowing their name.
Totally.
Just be cool. Say, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Nice. How's your night?
A buffer before you get into business.
Totally.
Yeah.
Don't sit at a bar or a table and just immediately go into your order. Have like a little bit of initial kind of interaction. It goes a long way. I promise you, listeners.
It means a lot to the other person.
It does because they've had
All night.
all night.
They've been going.
They've got
all week.
shitbirds. Yeah,
Season.
totally.
Yeah.
So a little bit of actual true interaction
Yeah.
goes a long way.
Also, just respect your fellow freaking human.
Manners and politeness
Just
go a
recognize
long
that
fucking
We're
way.
both taking up space here.
Totally. We're
Yeah.
just we're all doing the same shit, man.
Yeah,
We're all trying to get through it. Shake hands with someone.
Shake hands.
Look 'em in the
Shake
eye.
hands properly.
Yeah, don't give them the limp wrist. Don't give them the bullshit. Proper grip. Don't over grip anyone because that's equally as douchey
It is.
as the limp wrist.
That's a good mention.
Yeah, like
We all three have good handshakes.
yeah.
And when somebody gives me a really handshake, I'm like, okay, bud, you're overdoing it. I know I have a strong, firm handshake, and you're kind of being that guy right now.
6'3", 240. If you're hurting my hand,
Yeah.
we have an
you're
issue.
putting something
Right, yeah, you're leaning into that a little bit
Yeah.
too much.
He probably just wants you to know what might happen later.
Yeah, maybe. I don't want that.
And he doesn't mean it in the street.
No. All right, I have a question.
Yeah.
And this, when you walk into a men's room and you go to the urinal,
Don't look at dicks.
don't touch them or don't look at them.
Los does.
I always get confused. I think that if you're in like, it's okay to say, hey, hi.
Nah, I prefer to just be left alone. I don't need to talk to you. I don't talk to you.
I'm not gonna like,
I don't talk to anybody.
I don't wanna like shake your hands and
No,
hug it out.
I don't need to talk
But
to
I'm just like, hey, I don't,
No.
hi.
I'll just say nice package.
Well done, sir. Well done.
That shuts them up right away.
Dad must have been.
I
No,
I-
no, it's best not to talk.
always left and right. Hey,
I'll acknowledge you outside.
Hey, left nut. Hey, right nut. Who's the penis in between us? You know? You ever see a foot with no toes? 'Cause I'll tell you.
We could get into this like a guy code episode, like maybe, but this is like, let's not derail this one.
And I think that that's okay. I don't think it's inappropriate.
I don't think it's bad if you're just saying like, acknowledging somebody's.
Yeah,
I kind of look straight forward and I'm looking at the tiles.
right.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
Counting tiles.
I'm eye level the whole time. If your eyes cross.
See, I get my phone out and just start taking pictures. Here's the other thing, gentlemen, if you're listening to this, etiquette and manners, wash your fucking hands because we all see you leave.
Unbelievable. in
And
this
I don't
town.
care if you don't touch your junk. I don't care if you don't whatever. First of all, if you're taking a leak without touching your junk,
I'm impressed. You have a boner. That means you ever got a boner.
or
That means you
your
have a
shit
boner.
just falls out of your fly and
Yeah.
sorry about your luck.
Nah, dude. I almost want to say something to people
I do.
when they walk out.
I
without
absolutely
washing their
do.
fucking hands.
If I'm in a bar and I'm pissing next to somebody and he leaves, I'm like, you're not gonna wash your hands first? And then,
Yeah.
oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. 100% of the time because they're fucking embarrassed because they're nasty fuckers.
Yeah,
And I
but
might have to shake your hand. We might know a couple people later, and I might have to shake your hand, and I'm not shaking penis hand.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
more concerned about
Well, dude,
those
you know-
people touching the bathroom door than I am their wiener.
Yes,
Like that one's more filthy.
but here's the thing: I'm not a big hand washer, but the times that I do wash my hands is after I go to the bathroom.
yeah.
And I'm not saying you need to wash your hands because your dick is nasty. I'm just saying that it's a good time to wash your
Sterile,
hands.
sanitary.
Sure.
And I don't want to give some guy a hard time
Work in a
about
Restaurant.
not even working in a restaurant, even if you're in the restaurant.
I'm
Yeah.
bringing
go
it back,
ahead.
I'm bringing it back to Steve's.
Yeah.
I'm bringing it back to Steve.
All right.
All employees must watch their hands. Right.
Let's wrap this up. We're going off the rails.
We are,
Wrap it.
but this happens.
This does.
At least 1 or 2 times in every episode. How do you want to wrap this up?
I'd like to thank Mark for being here.
Yep.
Yes, thank you for having me. Man.
Great
It's been a
job.
blast.
Incredible.
Thank you for taking me away from my family for a
That was
few hours.
amazing. That was amazing.
You're welcome.
Yeah, the women are happy actually at the house. No,
Jeff,
kidding. Thank you for being here.
They're never happy.
You were on short. There's so much in there. Thank you for being on short notice.
I
Let's
think a closing shot would
let's
be
do
nice.
closing. We've never done this on
We've
the
never
episode, but it's
See?
appropriate. Mark, you're a great guest. Thanks so much, man. Great perspectives. Really appreciate the conversation. It's fun as always. That's the intention of this.
guys, check out.
Somewhat informative. Always check your facts. Don't listen to us.
Don't listen to us. We don't know.
Yeah, if I, knew,
Always check your facts.
if I would have known more earlier, you guys should have gotten me drinking about 2 hours before this thing.
No,
No, you were perfect. And
we've had some of those.
Pat McAfee comes back to the interwebs tomorrow. We're fans of like podcasts that are doing better than us, so we always give a shout out.
McAfee's doing
One of the great things I think about is like Joe Rogan's a great conversationalist. He always knows what questions to ask. He's always humorous, has interesting guests. He's curious. I think there's a lot of things that we touched on tonight. You know, the Pat McAfee show. We
So
always give a
speaking of how to get out of conversations, cheers, boys.
No. One more wrap because this has become part of our program. Which is that we emulate the folks that are above us on the ladder. And the Pat McAfee show has been offline, but he has something that we've always used to close out the episode, which is be a friend, tell a friend something nice might change their life.
There you go.
And we're talking about how to talk to people. I think that's the most appropriate close for tonight.
The
So,
best way to talk to people is actually just fucking talk to
talk to
people.
people.
Well said.
Words.
Get off
Very
your
well
phone and
said.
talk.
But to my co-host, Casey,
Love you, brother.
you're the best. Appreciate you. To our guest, Mark.
Love you, brother.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
all.
taking time out away from
Thank
the
you, guys.
family and bringing the
Appreciate it.
fucking hilarity. Amazing. We'll see you next time.
Bye, Condies.
Be well.